If Woody had gone right to the police, this would never have happened.
Uh-oh.
So, there are liberties being taken, like, there's going to be an increased amount of shit talk.
Oh, I have to remind myself I'm here willingly.
Catch one with a little bit of attitude, big guy?
Man, you champion son.
Well, it's a kangaroo court.
What do you mean how is the NFL a kangaroo court?
Could you please let me explain why?
No, I don't want to hear this garbage. Give me an answer to the questions I asked you.
What the fuck are we doing?
Come on with it, baby!
That's fine.
Italian. I'll talk to you later.
I'm a psych. Let's get this thing. All right. My undercarriage is sweating. For the best Italian food in Western New York, Elliott Apollo's, call 716-825-3675. The Lardon Construction Group.
Fubo TV, the official streaming service of Do Champions. FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Do Champions.
For all your summertime needs, beauty pools, as well as kayak pools.
CX Chronicles, your total customer solutions focused manager. W.GG, the official energy drink of Do Champions.
Hey, Sons of Erie, our artwork looks better on your walls. Hamburg Brewing, please visit our tap room on Boston State Road, Hamburg, New York. And finally,
Fat Boy Surf Club for all your surfing needs.
All right, and welcome into another edition of Third and Manageable. I am your host, and to my left, it does not look like Student Body Right tonight.
No.
He actually had a prior obligation tonight, so Pat Bruckness, we're throwing it back a little retro, going back to the Buffalo basement. Not really, but, you know, it's still Third and Manageable. We're going to have a little fun here tonight. We're going to talk about the Bills. We're going to talk about Hard Knocks. We're going to talk about the James Cook contract. You know, there's a lot of things we're going to talk about. We have some new equipment that if you actually were checking out Student Body Right's Twitter this week, he actually put some of that out on Twitter. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So definitely join us as we go along here. First and foremost, Pat, I want to welcome you back onto Third and Manageable. How's it feel to come back onto the flagship show of the network?
You know, it feels weird definitely being back here, especially this is where it all started for me, you know, with you and with students. So it definitely feels weird to be back, but I'm glad to be back.
Good. So let's kind of get down into it real quick. And first and foremost, I do want to touch on some of the Hard Knock stuff. I know I was on earlier this week with Maniac and Slick from Trainwreck. Definitely shout out to those guys over there for having me on. It was a lot of fun to talk about it in an instant reaction type of way. Now that I've kind of thought about it a little bit and you've had some time to digest it, what have been like your favorite storylines so far?
My favorite storyline has been Josh Allen's leadership, and just going back, you know, 2 years ago when we still had Stephon Diggs on the team. Some people were saying that Josh Allen might not be a leader. You don't see him on the sideline or, you know, working out the details with his receivers. But it seems like after we traded Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen realized he's one of the main veterans now in the locker room. And you're seeing it now in Hard Knocks where he's on, you know, he's talking to Keon Coleman. He's pulling Josh Palmer to the side. Hey, let's work on this a little bit. He's telling Keon Coleman, I need you here for me. So he definitely has taken his leadership to the next level because now he doesn't have that guy in his back pocket, maybe besides Khalil Shakir, where he knows where that receiver is going to be. And all the great quarterbacks eventually throughout their career up their leadership. When you look at Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Patrick Mahomes even, if you want to be great, you have to be a leader. And I've heard before going into last year that there was a conversation had between Terry Pagula and Josh Allen where Terry Pagula said that you want to see more Josh Allen be more of a leader. And if that is true, you are definitely seeing that in Hard Knocks. And Hard Knocks is putting that on full display.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree with you. It's really nice to see. I mean, that's definitely a good storyline along the way. That's kind of like a lesser of a storyline, I guess, because we've kind of seen like Josh, how he leads. He's always out in front of stuff. He's doing stuff with the community, things like that. So to me, that's a big storyline. But personally, to me, it was the James Cook stuff, right? And then literally the next day, it's like he signs the contract extension, which we'll get into in a little bit. But mine is actually like how they kind of went over like Buffalo Joe and made him a big part of the beginning of the show. And We actually saw it all over Twitter. When we talk about the joint practice and the game, and when we preview the game tomorrow, we'll definitely be talking about Buffalo Joe and some of the things that the people on with boots on the ground there saw. So with that being said, I really enjoyed seeing, because it's a great story. It's, last year, we all have these, guys we love, and the Christian Wades or the Gosnells or that are like great stories in camp, and we think that they've done enough to make the roster, and then they just not. Buffalo Joe is a lot different. They, he 5 years at Bryant, and then 1 year at UB, and then they had to find him at a local pro day, like. That's crazy. Like that's a story and a half in itself of how they found him. And, I'm glad the Bills have him. Seeing how Sean Dolak's doing, I really wish that they would have drafted him because you would have been able to have 2 UB products at the linebacker position. And, who knows? But who knows what could have happened with that. But the Buffalo Joe thing is great. He looks way better than he did last year. I can tell you that.
He did. Yes.
When I was on with Trainwreck, I told them we were at student and I were at Jeremy Kelly's camp, and he was there on the last day, and he looks so much better. He looks bigger. He looks stronger. He looks more together, if for lack of a better term.
Everything looks slower for him.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of looks that way as well. And so to kind of go off of that, and what has been like your favorite moment so far in Hard Knocks?
Well, yeah, very good. Before that, though, my favorite story about Buffalo Joe is the fact that just a few years ago, he was tailgating in the lots with Bills Mafia wearing a Matt Milano jersey. Now that's his teammate. Yeah. I find that really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, my favorite really storyline for Hard Knocks so far has been Tre'Davious White. The one thing I've really taken away from it was Tre'Davious White after practice in pads, running up and down hills, and he's in year 9, remind you. Now, this is a guy that clearly wanted to be here, as he told his agent, if you can't get Buffalo on the phone, don't call me. He wants to be back here. This is the team that drafted him, and usually, when you see guys in year 9 after training camp, you don't see them running hills. So it's just a different level of dedication for training.
So let me ask you a question about that then. Yeah. Let me kind of bring this up. Do you think that's a little bit performative of Trey White to be doing that, or do you think it's something he actually is doing to keep himself better?
Well, I'm going to say maybe it's a little bit of both, but definitely to keep himself better, because he even said this offseason was actually the first offseason where he was actually able to do whatever he wants, and he didn't have to rehab a certain part of his body. So this is the first offseason where he's had a full offseason. But I'm sure some of it's for the camera, but I'm sure definitely, because he is battling for the CB2 spot, which I think is locked up now, which we'll get into later.
Yeah, especially with Max going out. That's definitely something that I would definitely say that he's got that locked up for the better part of probably the first half of the year, at least. So we're gonna have to live with the ups and downs from Trey White. Hopefully, we see the Trey White of maybe not necessarily all pro, but maybe like the form he was starting to get back to. Before he had the Achilles injury. So who knows? We'll definitely have to wait and see. Definitely excited for that as far as Trey White goes. But my favorite moment, honestly, is I actually have 2. One of them kind of goes back to what you were talking about with Josh's leadership and his control of the actual offense. And you're seeing where he's kind of doing that and where he wants guys. And, the part that stuck out to me specifically was when he's like, I need you over here. I need you, I need you here. I need you, you need to go outside instead of in, or whatever the case may be. And he has that control of the offense, and he's able to kind of put guys where they need to be. So that's one of my favorite moments. The other one is going to be the Trey White or Trey Day Sunday. Okay. I know that wasn't from this past one, but it was from the first episode. But that honestly is one of my favorite moments so far. Is that they took it upon themselves to kind of create this thing, and then do it. So that was really cool to definitely cool to see. And truly, I mean, you kind of expect some of those things from like these puff pieces and things like that.
Which, by the way, have you tried that Training Sunday?
No, I haven't been up there. No, I never went up there. I will. I'm sure I will go to Rochester one of these times and go try it, or one of these weeks and go try it. But got to get a garbage plate too. It's been a while since I've had one.
Everybody tells me so you have to try garbage plate.
Yeah, they're so good. They're super good. I usually do. If I go to Nick Tahoe's, I usually get the one hamburger. So it's like, and then it's got the mac salad and the home fries, and the meat sauce, and you kind of put ketchup and mustard over top of it, and you mix it all up, and it just make it, it's super good. But that's neither here nor there. But how do you think, kind of going along that and talking about Trey White with that, and seeing how this doesn't really affect him too much? He's kind of one that was made to be in front of the camera, right? So,
yes.
How do you think it's affecting the other players along on the team and stuff like that? Do you think it's a detriment to them, or going to prove to be a detriment later on, or do you think it's kind of just something they're treating as background right now?
I think there's something that they're treating as background, because if you look at it, maybe if this was the Bills of the 2021 season, the 2022 season, maybe, but this team has been good now for quite some time, and they've been in the spotlight for quite some time now. So I don't see it being, I think they're just treating it as media. But obviously, I do think that they probably are, they're not saying certain things that they would say on the field because they are mic'd up, like Josh Allen. But for the most part, I think they're just treating it as background.
See, and that's the thing. I do kind of agree with you, but also at the same time, I don't. I think it's going to be, I think it may be a distraction, later on during the season, if things like with the receiver room or with the stuff that we're talking about with Josh Allen's leadership, right. And, because, this guy he's still not getting in the right spot for Josh, or, things like that. So I think that could be a problem later on down the road. But like I said, I mean, everything you said also is valid as well. But I do think that there is could be a downfall later on if something like, if we see what happens like last year, right? With
right.
They hit the Ravens and the Texans. Shakir was out, and right. They had no offense.
Right.
So they had to go acquire Amari Cooper. I don't want to see anything like that happen. I mean, they have a good receiver room. I truly think so, and I'm excited that and we'll talk about the injuries later on. But we saw Curtis Samuel come back to practice, even though he was a limited participant. We saw Elijah Moore come back to practice. We saw Keon Coleman continue his dominance. So, but when we get to the Bears, talking about them, we'll kind of go over that. As we go. The other thing, though, too, Pat, to kind of go along with that, with how it's affecting players, do we think that the Bills take a dip this year, or do they keep on track?
Now, what's your definition of a dip? Are we talking like 10 wins?
No, I'm not saying like they're dipping to miss the playoffs or anything like that. I mean, you could say that. Like, that could be a dip. But I'm just saying, do you think they're going to go 13-4 again this year? Or do you think they're going to be able to go 15-2 or whatever the case may be? Or do you think they're going to take a dip?
No, I don't think they're going to take a dip. I think they're going to stay right on track. When you look at their schedule, it's not that obviously week 1 Sunday Night Football against Baltimore is hard. Then the rest of it kind of eases up. Then you get play Carolina. Well, you come off the bye week, play Carolina. Then you got Kansas City, which you should win. You could win all those games. You're 9-8, 7-8, So then I think the back half of the schedule is a little bit harder. But we have seen now the Bills are the second most winningest team since 2020, and obviously they have everything to show for it. But a Super Bowl. And their definition of consistency.
And real quickly, thanks, Bill Mafia, for the comment. I saw you were in with Pat the other night a lot, so definitely thank you for the comment. Hey, gents, the season can't begin fast enough. I completely agree.
I agree.
That August is the longest, even though there's no sports. in June or July, really like good sports. I mean, yeah, there's baseball, but that's like watching paint dry still.
Yeah.
But
you're a Pirate fan, I'm a Cubs fan, so
yeah. In all seriousness, though, I mean, July, June, those feel like very long months, right? But then,
yes,
because it's like right around the corner, August feels like the longest month waiting for the NFL season to start, which kind of sucks. But with that being said, do you? I think that they take a deep. I think they do. Think that they take a dip. I do think they take a little bit of a dip. I think that they probably are, because you can only win against so many teams in the division. There's only 3 other teams in the division. Do I think that they go 5-1, 6-0 in the division? Maybe. I think that they may end up at 5-1 because I think that they lose one to the Patriots, or 4-2 in the division. And there's a caveat to that. Okay. So if they need that last game, like let's say they lose to the Eagles, right?
Right.
And they need that last game for the first seed. Okay. I fully expect them to beat the Jets. If they beat the Eagles and wrap up that 1 seed, I expect to see Josh Allen take 1 snap to keep his Iron Man streak going and get off the field. And it probably is going to end up like last year against the Patriots, where Mitch Trubisky or Mike White or whoever it is, whoever wins the quarterback 2 battle, is playing at that point. And I don't see us beating the Jets that way. But that's neither here nor there. But that, I really do. I think that they're either 4-2 or 5-1, more likely 5-1. But I do think that they come back a little bit in the actual overall record, because I think that the Patriots are a good team, and I think that they're going to be nipping at the Bills' heels for the division. Do I think they're going to win the division? Absolutely not. I see the Bills being 12-5, 11-4, or 11-6. So. Who knows at that point? But let's see here. Now, what do you with the James Cook signing and everything that they've done so far? And what do you expect? What do we expect to kind of see? What do we kind of expect to see on this week's episode?
Obviously, they're going to talk about how the hold-in is over, which is the most important thing. And obviously, they're going to show a lot of James Cook highlights. They might even interview him. But I think outside of that, James Cook does not seem like he's much of a camera person. So I don't think we're going to see much from James Cook. It'll be more just like showing him, running routes or whatever, catching the ball out of the backfield, more clips like that, and just more narrating than anything.
Do you think that they get in, they see any of the negotiations? Do you think we see any of that?
I'm going to say no. I think Brandon Beane does not want to put that stuff out there, and I think the organization does have a say in some things of what's put out, right?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that they have some, and that brings up the other question: is how much say do the Bills actually have in what goes out? Like, honestly, I mean, how much did they actually agree to let go out or anything like that? Because we've seen everything, like any year before, we've seen players get traded, we've seen players get cut, we've seen, all that stuff. So, how much can they actually sit there and say, hey, we don't want this stuff out there, and how likely is it to be something that HBO is wanting to allow them to do? With that being said, I want to talk about James Cook's, contract as well.
Yeah.
I know you have the breakdown. I'll let you kind of take it. I'll let you kind of take it from here as far as the breakdown goes. But as we know, James Cook signed on Wednesday. 4 years, $46 million. It is technically a full 5 additional years, 4 years of actual contract. That 5th year is a void year. So, it's I'll let you kind of take it from here with that.
Yeah, so James Cook's Bills extension basically comes out to 4 years, $46 million, which is the base. $15.28 million guaranteed at signing. $10.6 million more he's going to get in next February and through in March. $10.3 million in 2025 cash. Then you got $1 million in 28 to 29, which is an escalator. And then it's practically a 3-year, $30.1 million deal.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm basically what that they have outs in the 28 season.
Yes. Which it did free up $2.2 million of this year's cap space.
Yeah, so I know that he's a $3.5 million cap hit this year. He's something like a 5.3 or 5.5, something like that.
5.8 million.
Yes, and
due to a double structure.
As Cullen said, he does give us he did give us a lot of outs in that contract as well, because as running backs go, who knows what's going to happen? You gave him what he wanted. You gave him what he deserved. You put him right in that little bit of leeway for him. It puts him right along the lines of Josh Jacobs and everything like that. Just a little bit under base from Josh Jacobs at 11.5. But again, I mean, I think it's a great deal. I do. If he's still ascending and he's continuing to ascend and finally hit that top level in 28, and he, knock on wood, hasn't gotten hurt yet and everything like that, he truly could move forward and continue to be the Bills' best weapon. That's not Josh Allen. Because, as much as we don't want to talk about it and as much as we hate the thought of it, Josh Allen's going to get old at some point. Father Time catches up to everybody, some little bit later than others. Josh, I'm sure, takes very good care of his body. And it truly, I think that Josh Allen will be one of the guys that plays until he's 38 to 40. But
I agree.
What kind of player is that? Because at some point he's going to have to stop, using his legs as much. He's going to have to start trusting his arm. He's going to have to start trusting the guys around him to make plays rather than, himself. So maybe that's hopefully where James Cook comes in. And as he continues his ascent into getting better and better, I think that the contract, honestly, I think it's going to, outplay itself. I really do. So, as far as that, what does that mean future cap wise for the Bills? And when I say that, I mean, does that put us in jeopardy of anybody else not being able to re-sign or anything like that?
No, I've thought about this, but I'm going to say no, this doesn't put us in jeopardy. I do think that maybe we move on from somebody, but at the same time, the cap, it does continue to go up each year for the next, few years. So with the cap rising and obviously Bean and, everybody behind the scenes is very good at working contracts. Look what they did with Josh Allen now twice. Look what they're doing with James Cook. I definitely do think it's not going to put anybody really in jeopardy, to say.
Well, and it's not even necessarily in jeopardy. It is what I meant is you have players like an Osiris Torrance, right? You have guys that he's got 2 years left. Next year, you can start negotiating with him. You have Connor McGovern, who's up this year. Next year. You have David Edwards, who's up next year. You can't pay everybody. There's going to be some difficult spots that you're not going to be able to pay everybody, because you're paying Deion Dawkins, you're paying Spencer Brown. What do? Do you go into the draft and draft a left tackle to replace Deion Dawkins? How long is he going to play? No, I'm just being serious. How long is he going to play? Obviously you're not going to get rid of him next year, but and we have to remember the cap is going to continue to go up. You're probably looking anywhere from, it's at 279 right now. You're probably looking at just over $300 million next year, 305, 310, right around there. And then probably about 330 the following year. Do we really have that much worry in where the cap is going to be sitting compared to what is being spent?
Now, I'm glad that the cap keeps going up because I know there's a lot of people that are worried about the cap, and I'm glad that we're restructuring our core guys now with the cap continuing to go up. I do think that we will move on from a guy like David Edwards. But I think we'll keep an Osiris, a Connor McGovern, because as you go back to Josh Allen's whole tenure with Buffalo, his whole career, Josh Allen has always had a very good center, starting with Mitch Morse and now Connor McGovern. And you see that Connor McGovern, like every Bills social media video, Connor McGovern's always Josh Allen's right-hand man. And I think if Josh Allen does have a say, he's going to want to keep Connor McGovern over a David Edwards.
See, and I disagree with this. I think it's McGovern and Torrance is fine. It's McGovern or is Edwards is the odd man out, and you're gonna probably slide somebody like an Alec Anderson or Ryan Vandermark in there to take over that right or left guard spot, because I mean with the cap going up and everything, you're going to be able to pay certain players, but you're not going to be able to pay everybody.
Right.
Plus, you have a lot of those levers you can pull within the Dawkins contract, within the Knox restructure. Exactly. So I mean, that's really what it comes down to. He's got to, like Brandon Beane said, you got to fit everything under the umbrella. You got to be able to fit everything under the umbrella, and I think that he's very good at doing that. And whether he has to push some money down the road, and if Torrance proves to be one of the best players in the league as far as at his position, I don't expect him going anywhere. I don't expect McGovern going anywhere, but also it depends on what he's going to be looking at. And honestly, I refer to, myself personally, I think he's going to be probably around 4 years, $44 to $46 million, right around like probably anywhere from 25 to 30 million guaranteed for him. I know Greg Tomset, friend of the show, friend of us, of Student Body Right, and myself. He said he thinks it's 4 years, $48 million. I could see that as well. That keeps him right around that, on that cusp of top 5 center money without giving him Creed Humphrey money, who just signed a $72 million 4-year contract, 4 years, $72 million. So, I mean, it's really just kind of comes down to, we can all take our best guesses at this, but it's really Brandon Beane who is the one who's got to figure it all out truly.
And I'm sure if we do end up giving Connor McGovern, $12 million, Beane will work it to make it team friendly for the first 2 years, the 4-year deal. Maybe he adds a void year.
Yeah. And that's why I'm saying there's so many ways to manipulate the cap in the NFL. It is real. Like, we got to be serious. I know people are like, it's not real. It's fake. It's who's he, what's he, and whatever else. And it is real. Cap is real. Got to fit it under. But there are ways to minimize cap hit in 1 year where then it inflates in another year, and then you got to figure out what you're going to do, around there. So kind of spinning everything back, honestly, who do you think? So this is kind of like, who do you think is going to, do you think to get any savings now? Do you think that we see a Curtis Samuel trade?
I don't believe so. I know Curtis Samuel started off with a turf toe injury, and then he had a soft issue injury this training camp. But as you saw towards the tail half of last year and in the playoffs, he was there for Josh Allen, even against Kansas City back in Week 9. He had a big touchdown there. He had a touchdown against Denver. I believe he had a touchdown against Baltimore and Kansas City in the AFC Championship game. It looks like Josh Allen's starting to get familiar with Curtis Samuel, but again, a player's best ability is availability. And I think if he were to suffer another injury, you could see the Bills move on from him, but I think right now he is battling out with a Elijah Moore. And again, Curtis Samuel does know the Joe Brady system as they were together in Carolina. And now this is his second year here. I expect him to be more familiar with the system, which I'm sure he is, but it does come down to staying on the field. I just don't think we're going to move on from him, though.
Yeah. So, and real quick before we do get into our recap of the joint practice, I do agree with you that I think that it's going to be tough to move on from Curtis Samuel. So I think he's probably, I don't want to call him a lock because we've seen Brandon Beane move contracts out, Marcel Darius, Sammy Watkins, Ronald Darby, things like that. We've seen him do that in the past, but I truly think that I think they're going to be forced to keep 6 receivers this year. Honestly, I think, I think that you're talking Shakir, Coleman, Palmer, Moore, Samuel, and Shavers. I think those are your 6 receivers this year. They could even keep 7 if they feel as though Chenault is worthy of making the team. But they could also try and slip him to the practice squad. But I don't think Tyrell Shavers is going to make I don't think he would slip through to the practice squad as well. No, he wouldn't. But with that being said, we do have a segment
about the Curtis Samuel thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, with the Curtis Samuel thing, I know a lot of Bills Mafia is talking about trading him and clear up that $7.1 or $7.3 million. At the same time, it does take 2 to tangle. And who is going to take on some of that Curtis Samuel contract? Right. Maybe San Francisco, because they just dealt with another injury in the receiver room. But besides that, I don't think anybody's really going to take a Curtis Samuel.
Right. So we do a segment on this show. It's called Off the Rack. It's sponsored by Fat Boy Surf Club. If it's good enough for Spencer, if it's good enough for Alec, if it's good enough for Ryan Vandermark, it's good enough for you. Off the Rack, sponsored by Fat Boy Surf Club. This is one of the ones that we noticed this week is Khalil Shakir's helmet. It's a new Shut F7 Pro with an F7X Ropo SW face mask. So that's really what it looks like. That's what you're going to see on the field from him. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Now, with that being said, we did see on the field, some of these guys on the field against a different team for a practice. Usually they get a little chippy. They get, a little bit, a little, the things go on at those practices. Yeah. So things go on at those practices that tend to not be the greatest, but they got out of it without any real fights or anything like that, any scraps or anything like that. So I'm very, very happy that happened. We did see, we did hear about Keon Coleman having another.
Am I frozen, Matt? Yeah, but basically what Matt was saying, Matt will be back with us momentarily. What Matt was saying was basically we have seen now Keon Coleman had a pretty good scrimmage against the Bears. He turned a DB into a pretzel, as we have heard from different sources all over Twitter, for a 30-yard touchdown. And another person that I thought had a pretty solid scrimmage was Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa was a guy who a lot of Bills fans were hesitant on signing after they found out that we did sign Joey Bosa, and he's a guy who was living in the backfield. What would have been 2 sacks against the Bears and their right tackle Darnell Wright or their left tackle Braxton Jones. They didn't specify which tackle he was going up against, but it was a starter. He was living in the backfield, and that's even going back to last week in the preseason against the Giants. You saw Joey Bosa living in the backfield in that first quarter that he did play. I believe he did register a tackle. And who else had a pretty good scrimmage? Tre'Davious White did get burned a couple times. in the scrimmage, they had a player, their wide receiver, Ozichis, had a nice little house call. I think it looked like a 20-yard slant, which turned into a house call. And it looks like Tre'Davious White might have bumped into Taylor Rapp on that. But we also want to monitor that to see if he does play in this week's preseason game, which he did play in last week's preseason game. And another guy, they said the Bills' offensive line held up against the Bears' defensive line, which not really shocking. The Bears' defensive line is not that good, but they do have guys like Austin Booker, who had 3 sacks last week in the preseason. They have Montez Sweat, Javon Dexter, and they said our offensive line did very good, and it held Josh Allen up. And I think Matt is back. We will see. But in the meantime, while he's loading in, so the Bills' offensive line did a good job in protection with Josh Allen. Josh Allen did throw quite a few interceptions, but as Josh Allen has been doing all training camp and even in the scrimmages, I'm pretty sure if he does play tomorrow, we will see him do it again as well. He's trying to fit things into tight windows, see what he can get away with. I know Tremaine Edmonds picked him off, I believe, twice. Kevin Byard picked him off once, and there was somebody else who also picked him off. But obviously, get your turnovers. If these aren't just testing things, you actually think they're open, just get them out of the way now. And there's no reason to really panic with Josh Allen's interceptions. But with that being said, they also said that Ray Davis had a good, and Ty Johnson, the Bills running back room, really had a good practice. Well, the Bills defensive line, I already spoke on that. And there we go. Welcome back.
Geez, sorry about that. I don't know what the heck happened to the but my internet died. Love technology. But we were talking about a little bit on the so really what I want to kind of go over is how did players look from all the reports out there? Because we didn't see a lot of videos. Like I want to say that very, very blatantly. Like for whatever reason, we didn't see anything. And other than the one video we got to see of Keon Coleman's catch, which I think I'm sorry, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. The practice was open to the public. There should have been
and we had guys there too, Matt, that were covering the Bills, and there's still nothing.
Right. Yeah, it's just crazy to me. But from all the reports that we saw, I mean, Keon Coleman twisting guys into pretzels. I think John Scott said that one. I'm just trying to think.
For a 30-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
They said the Bills' offensive line did pretty well against the Bears' starting defensive line. I kind of already went over the Bears' defensive line. They don't really have any really big names outside of Montez Sweat, but they kept Josh Allen upright. I spoke on Joey Bosa had a very good practice, and so did Greg Rousseau as well. The Bills' defensive line as a whole. Ed Oliver had what would have been a sack. Landon Jackson had what would have been a sack. Joey Bosa would have had 2, and Greg Rousseau would have had 2 as well.
Hey, Pat, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Are we worried about Josh's interceptions?
See, I was just talking about that.
Can you feel the like sarcasm and eye roll from me? Like,
yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous. The guy literally had his best season last year in turnovers, and he's trying to work with these guys in the spots that he's supposed to be working it is practice. Like, do I have to go back to AI and or Allen Iverson and be like, practice? Yeah, like this is the time.
There's no reason to worry about him.
This is the time when we get on the same page with other guys and trying to figure out, if I throw this deep here, how is he going to handle this route? Or if I force it into a window here, am I going to be able to force that window? Like, he's testing things out at this point right now. And I think somebody said that even too, is that he's testing things out. So
he said himself in one of his interviews. There's no reason to be worried about it.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that for him. But other than those little couple things, overall, we heard that players looked really good. We heard that they multiple times from different sources, whether it be Sean McDermott himself or from anybody on Twitter or anything like that, or people that we know that were there, said they looked really good, and the physicality had to be met by the Bears, not the Bills, which was great. that's always great to see when you're going against somebody else. So
I'm glad you brought that up because there was a point that was mentioned by, I believe, somebody on the Bears side. They were asked, and I saw this on Twitter by a few people that like, oh, what's the difference between the Bills' physicality and the Dolphins' physicality from last week in their scrimmage? He says a night and day difference. And like you said, there was times where the Bears had to match the Bills' physicality, which is weird to say because it felt like just a few years ago we were questioning the Bills' physicality, and now teams that are physical like the Bears and the North teams, well, we're talking about the Bears, said that they had to match Buffalo's physicality. That's really nice to see. Well, really nice to hear. Yeah.
No, I definitely agree with you on that. And I think that honestly, I'm glad that they kind of matched that they had to, keep that physicality high. And this is the time where you want to hit somebody else instead of the same guys you've been hitting for the last 2.5 weeks. So you get the chance to go out and do that in a practice setting where it's maybe safer to do so than in a game. Speaking of that real quickly, have we heard anything on whether Josh is going to play at all tomorrow?
Well, Sean McDermott said in his press conference, I believe before the scrimmage, said we will wait and see. He wants to get through the scrimmage first, and there's still nothing to be said about it. It looks like McDermott and the coaching staff is keeping this one close to the chest as usual. What else is new? It's a preseason game, man. Why can't we just know Josh Allen's playing? But as of right now, nothing.
Yeah. So I mean, so what are some of your other favorite moments from the actual practice itself?
Yeah, Keon Coleman had a nice touchdown over Jaquan Brisker, a Bears safety who was drafted in the second round, I believe 2 years ago. And just overall how the defensive line looked, because that's something that we've been missing the last few years in the playoffs. And the Bears really upgraded their offensive line. They added guys. They have the right tackle, Darnell Wright. They added a guy like Joe Thuney. They added a guy named Steven Jackson from the Rams. So they really did upgrade that offensive line. It was nice to see guys like Ed Oliver feast. And they did put TJ Sanders at one tech alongside Ed Oliver, which I thought was pretty interesting to see. And just watching the defensive line feast and Greg Rousseau and Joey Bosa. Just like how we saw last in the preseason.
Yeah. So with that being said, I mean, my favorite moment is just hearing about Keon Coleman and how his growth and everything like that. Now we talked a little bit about Curtis Samuel and Elijah Moore coming back. Who else returned? Because there's still we have players returning from injury, but there's still some key guys out. Who are the players that we did have that returned to practice?
Yeah, we had Terrell Bernard return to practice. We had Cole Bishop return to practice. Taylor Rapp. And I think that's it. Yeah. Oh, Alec Anderson also returned to practice. How did I forget about Alec Anderson?
Larry Ogunjobi returned to practice. Shaq Thompson returned to practice as well. Those guys were limited. That's the thing right now, because I mean, like, I grew up with Bruce Smith and those guys who you open up a newspaper and read that like he's injured, or whatever the case may be, or he has ailments going on, or you turn on the 7 o'clock news or the 5 o'clock news or the 10 o'clock news or whatever it was, and you'd hear about whatever, and they're out because of whatever, and by the time the regular season rolls around, they're full bore, full go, whatever. So it's a lot different now than it was back then. But with social media and with the constant, following from, networks like us and Cover One and Trainwreck and, all those guys. But, I'm super glad to have some of those guys back because it does help to bring in the actual, what Sean McDermott was saying is, guys got to be in practice so we can figure out what we have in those guys. So that's really the major thing with Sean right now is, and I get it. He's got 91 guys on this team, or 90 guys or 91 guys on this team. He's got to figure out who to keep and who to let go. And it's all at one time now. It's not like, hey, let me cut down to 80 or anything like that. And Trey is right by this. He did give up the biggest play of the day, but again, Zacchaeus is a very fast receiver.
4.2 speed from what I've been told.
He did cut across the middle on that. It was a quick slant route, and that's a little bit of a tougher one to kind of get to in practice, and not seeing, we only saw the one angle, not seeing where the players were playing, not seeing where they were lined up, how they were lined up, or anything like that. So you literally just saw Caleb Williams, and this came from the Bears account.
Right.
It was a play from Caleb Williams to him, and it was just like, it was real quick, and yes, Trey White ran into whoever and whatever.
Yeah,
but,
Taylor Rapp, yeah.
I mean, we got to be serious, and we gotta wait to see what it's going to look like in the regular season, because we know that Trey White is most likely going to be, barring anything serious, and I'm knocking on wood here for Trey White's sake. I really am. We want to see him healthy. We want to see him actually be available for the Bills and everything like that, more than just, coming off of an injury or anything like that. So, best of luck to him to stay upright and healthy the entire season. But
right, I do want to mention something about that though. It did come from the Bears account. It did look like Tre'Davious White got cooked, but at the same time, I'm looking more at what Tre'Davious White did against the Giants in the preseason opener, and he was making tackles and he looked good.
Well, let's not say good, but let's say okay. Let's the average. Yes, he didn't look. Let's not go there.
No, please.
But what do we expect to kind of see carry over to the game? And real quick before you answer that, you know how I feel about Caleb Williams, so we'll leave that.
I feel differently about that, but yeah, we'll leave that one alone.
We'll leave that for another time. But go ahead. What do you expect to have carry over to the game from the joint practice?
Well, they said that both special teams were pretty amped up. I expect to continue to see that. I don't think we'll see a lot of pushing and shoving. I would expect to see more Tyrell Shavers, Christian Wilkerson, and Darrington Evans apparently suffered a hamstring injury in that scrimmage. So I think we'll see a lot more Frank Gore Jr. And then after that, are you really going to risk a Ty Johnson or a Ray Davis?
That guy just has the worst luck on the Bills during the preseason, man. He looks so good. He looks so good in one game, and then something happens that next week, and he has an injury, and then he just is never able to get back to the Bills.
Then I have a joke with a few family members because half the side of my family are Bears fans. Darrington Evans goes from the Bills to the Bears to start the regular season. Then he jumps to Miami. Then training camp, comes back to Buffalo and gets injured. So I just feel bad for that guy.
Yeah. No, it's true.
I do expect to see more of Deion Walker too, as well. Is that he had a nice, pretty. I think he's a PFF's highest graded defensive tackle in preseason week 1 with a 92.8 grade.
Yeah.
So definitely look forward to seeing more of Deion Walker as well.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see Deion Walker play. I'm super excited to see TJ Sanders. He was getting some run with the first team next to Ed Oliver there in the one tech spot. So I just having a rotation that is going to have a Deion Walker, a TJ Sanders, and Ed Oliver, a Michael Hoyt, Joey Bosa, Greg Rousseau, AJ Epinesa. It's going to be really nice to see the things that they can do with those guys, running stunts and playing games and things like that with the defensive line. I'm super excited to see that because we didn't see a lot of it the last couple of years, and now they have Ryan Nielsen, and I'm so excited to see what he can do with Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones and everything like that.
And I'm glad you brought that up because as you're seeing, there's a lot of training camp clips, especially in OTAs. He's very hands-on compared to an Eric Washington, which to me means a lot. Watching, getting down and really telling the defensive line how you want it done. You see him right there next to the what's it called? The sleds, but they have the tackle dummies on them.
Yeah.
You
sleds.
Say, no, put your hands here. Yeah, sleds. Putting your hands, put your hands here. Stuff like that really does matter. And I think with your point with this Bills defensive line, They are trying to replicate what the Buccaneers did in 2020, what the Eagles did last year against the Chiefs. They've seen it twice now. They are loading up on that defensive line.
So, and Trey brings up another good point here. Ben Johnson said he's focused on Caleb Williams' pass completion percentage. I expect the Bills to face a lot of quick game. I 100% agree. I think that they're going to try and I think Ben Johnson's going to try and get the ball out of Caleb Williams' hands as much as he possibly can, because they had the 9th best offensive line last year in the NFL.
Still find that crazy that you say that. I don't mean
it's because he holds
just
on
last week.
It's because he holds on to the goddamn ball too long. Like,
I mean, just like guys like Larry Borum, Braxton Jones are bad football players. They're being pushed back into him.
It doesn't matter.
I know the numbers don't lie.
It was like
crazy.
It was like 4.53 seconds was his average throw time or whatever it was. It's absolutely crazy. And for him to have taken all those sacks that he took last year and to hold on to the ball, and everybody's like, oh my God, look at the low interception. Well, guess what? He didn't throw the ball to put out the interceptions. That's truly what I truly feel it is. And, you can see me getting a little fired up, but I truly think that Caleb Williams is a bust. I don't expect him to be. I think he'll be out of the NFL before his next contract. I really do.
Well, I mean, if you can't get it to work with a quote unquote offensive genius, Ben Johnson, which Bills fans were advocating for, you're not going to make it work with anything else. I mean, look at this Bears roster, just very quick.
Right.
DJ Moore, Roman Dunze, Luther Burden, who could have been a first-round talent. You cannot make it work with that. And then you have Colston Love in a first-round tight end. And same thing with Cole Kmet as well. I believe for the first or second-round tight end.
And now they have Colston Loveland. Like
pick 10.
They're absolutely ridiculous, and literally for them you want to talk about somebody who's so protected within in the media spaces is Caleb Williams. It truly it blows my mind. It boggles my mind as to how they can, because all of this stuff against him, but then also on top of that, he has the things off the field, him not being able to, him not knowing how to win, him not, and what did I say? What did I say a couple of years ago about him when he was being drafted? $1 million talent, 10-cent head. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I still
right.
truly believe that to this day. And, they were saying last year that, this is the best situation for a rookie quarterback to go into.
Ooh.
Now it's, it got even, last year sucked, and now this is the best situation for Caleb Williams. Come on. Like, at some point, it's got to be on the player himself. And I get it's only his second year, but everybody was ready to jump on Josh anytime he did anything his second year.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between Caleb Williams and Josh. You saw the growth, constant growth with Josh.
Yep.
Caleb Williams, a lot of his stats came from garbage time, but then also too, on top of that, is you saw the same habits he had in college that came to the pros, and those things don't work in the pros. So
trying to spin around, jump over somebody that got miss a tackle.
Unless you're Saquon Barkley, you shouldn't be jumping over guys backwards. So
well, I mean, Josh Allen can jump over people, right? I mean, he did.
I said backwards. I said
okay.
backwards.
Yeah, you did say backwards. Okay.
But no, in all seriousness though, major thing that I want to see personally, from that is carried over, is Josh's command of the offense continues if he plays. And then main one is just to stay healthy. Do whatever you can to stay healthy. I mean, that's the true thing that has to happen in the preseason. Is I heard it this morning and I thought it was great. I thought it was a great saying. You cannot win the Super Bowl in August. but you can lose
That's
it.
true.
You can lose it. There's nothing good. There's nothing good to gain from a preseason game. And it's true. It really is. And it made me think on my way to work this morning. I'm like, that is such a good thing, because we always talk about it. Oh, this team thinks that they're going to win in March. They're trying to win the Super Bowl in March by signing this. But if you're not careful and you're not taking care of your body and you're not taking care of your players, you can literally lose the Super Bowl in August because of injuries.
Knock on wood. Look at Taron Johnson last week. That was a scare. You know, with his prior concussion history, that was definitely a scare. So I never really thought about that, but that's actually very true.
So and then I kind of want to get going on to like what we expect to see. You know, we don't know who's in, who's out right now or anything like that, but we expect Maxwell Harrison obviously to miss the game. We expect Khalil Shakir obviously to miss the game. I don't expect to see Josh play. I really don't. Should he play? Pat, should he play?
I think he should, because we do play Tampa Bay next week in Tampa Bay, but we do play them in the regular season as well. I think you put Josh out for a drive, maybe two, because usually 2 drives is a quarter in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Let him get on the same page with the receivers and don't let it be game time. Don't let his first real action be against Baltimore Sunday night.
And how often does that actually happen? Like, I'm interested to see that. I really wish I would have looked that up before the show. How often is it that you play somebody in the preseason and then play them again in the regular season? Because it's the last.
It's pretty rare.
It's the last preseason game of the year of 2025. Season. And I don't expect anybody to play. So I don't see the thing, I don't see them giving anything away for later on. So, I mean, like, what's the point of actually playing somebody like that? And Steve, definitely want to thank you for joining us on Third and Manageable and everything. We'll be back. Brian and I will be back to Hockey Hotline very, very shortly. We're trying to work a day in here where we can move the show permanently. So thank you for being with us all times. Will a Bears QB ever throw for more than 4,000 yards? The fact that nobody has ever has must be one of the most epic stats of all time. I 100% agree. It's crazy to me. Jim McMahon, like, you have Willie Gault and Jim McMahon and that offense that they had at the time. How did that not happen? How did they make a Super Bowl with a guy who didn't? I think he threw for less than 3,500 yards.
I can tell you how. Walter Payton, one of the greatest running backs of all time, if not the greatest, in the 1985 Bears defense, the greatest defense of all time. Can
you answer me a question?
Yeah.
How the hell did Walter Payton not have a touchdown in the Super Bowl?
William Perry did.
But I'm just saying, how the hell did Walter Payton
go out like that and your best player?
It's got to be one of Mike Ditka's regretting moments, whatever they call that. Like crazy.
Yeah.
No, Steve, I don't. If you want to give us the answer in the comments, that'd be great. Thank you. I don't know who has the most in Bears history. It could be. But moving on here real quickly. What do we expect to see tomorrow from live action? Eric, hold on. Eric Kramer. I have not heard that name since the early to mid 90s. Steve, can you answer me the question? Was he actually Dick Duran's quarterback with the Bears? I'm not 100% sure.
For the Bears?
Yeah. Oh. In the mid 90s.
Learn something new every day.
Or early 2000s, one of the two. I can't remember which one it was, but yeah, he was with the Bears. He was their head coach for a bit. But what do you expect to see in the game tomorrow?
I don't expect to see much, but I do expect for them to try to get guys that are on the bubble, like a KJ Hamler, which we did release Jalen Virgil, by the way, which is I found kind of surprising considering that he was on the roster last year and suited up in some games for us last year. I think maybe KJ Hamler's on the bubble. They're going to try to display him. Christian Wilkerson, and Tyrell Shavers. I think those are the three guys that they're going to try to display offensively. And defensively, I think they want to see what they got in Deion Walker, TJ Sanders, and more importantly, guys like Dorian Strong, just in case, knock on wood, Tre'Davious White does go down, it will be the next man up. And I think Dane Jackson is battling Dorian Strong, in my opinion, for that next cornerback spot behind Tre'Davious White, while Maxwell Harris is recovering from that knee sprain. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing.
Thank you. It was Dave Wanstead that was the head coach at the time for Eric Kramer. But yes, I agree with you, Pat, on that. I know we haven't agreed a lot on things tonight, but definitely do agree on that. I do expect them to try and get a lot of these roster bubble guys give them their time to shine. I do expect to see Elijah Moore a little bit more in there as well. I expect to see hopefully Curtis Samuel in some live game action.
Bernard would be nice too.
I don't need to see Bernard. I don't need to see a lot of the starters. We know how they're going to be.
No Milano.
We saw them last week. I don't want to see Joey Bosa suiting up. I don't want to wrap that guy in commercial bubble wrap and let him sit for a while. But in all seriousness, though, I mean, I really want to see tomorrow, some of those guys step up and show that, especially Elijah Moore. I want to see Mike White be the one to be first off the bench as the quarterback. If Josh is not playing, or if he is playing, he would be the next guy up coming in. Because I think that, yes, the stat line was great or good for Mitchell Trubisky. The problem is he just isn't making plays when they need to be made. Like, look at what happened last year against the Patriots in Week 18. Should never have lost that game. Should not have ever lost that game. Truly should not have ever lost that game. That's a good question, Steve. I don't know. Did he do it? Does he do it often? Yes. Brandon Beane does the whole, let's showcase this guy or anything like that. But I think that Curtis Samuel is going to be. They have him pegged as a big part of the offense. So we'll see what actually happens. Because, like I said, I think that they keep earlier in the show. I think they keep 6. I think that they keep Shakir, Coleman, Palmer, Moore, Samuel, and Shavers. So I think that they're actually going to go with 6 this year. And try and sneak a couple of the other guys onto the practice squad, maybe KJ Hamler onto the practice squad. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But I really do think that the wide receiver room is set right now. I don't think Samuel's going anywhere. But who knows? We're just sitting here talking. So he could be traded. He could be traded Monday morning. You never know. I could be traded Monday morning. So who knows? But with that being, so real quickly, we're talking about bubble guys and things like that. What players do you think are on the bubble, and what do you think that they need to do to make the roster?
Yeah, I think guys like KJ Hamler, Laviska Shenault, and Tyrell Shavers are on the roster. More so a guy like KJ Hamler, who was on the practice squad for all of last year, and Laviska Shenault. Those are guys, and what I think they have to do is show consistency in the special teams game and just have some sort of presence in the passing game as well. Because I know KJ Hamler had that 33-yard touchdown. Have a few more catches. Get open. Make yourself available to the quarterback. And that's what, this front office and coaching staff wants to see out of the receivers.
Yeah. Steve, I don't think it's going to be one of those guys in the receiver room that's going to be returning kicks, honestly, unless they have Elijah Moore going back there and going with Ty Johnson. I think Codrington is going to be the guy that's going to continue returning. But that's just the way I feel about it personally. I think that he's going to end up winning probably the cornerback 5 job, so that he stays on the team. So we'll definitely see what happens as far as that goes. But would I like to see the Bills keep 7 receivers and maybe go with a Chenault? Sure. But you could always try and sneak him onto the practice squad and bring him up. And if somebody gets hurt or anything like that, then, you go from there, or maybe put Curtis Samuel if he doesn't get any better and you can't find a trade partner for him or anything like that. Maybe throw him on IR with a designation to return, and then you could, that's one way to, save a roster spot there. But again, they can't do that until the season, or closer to the season. I can't remember the rule off the top of my head right now. I'd have to go look it up, but. With that being said, what do you have you seen any of the camp battles end yet? And,
yes.
And if not, or if so, what are they, and which ones are you most excited to see in live game action tomorrow?
Yeah, I think the quarterback 2 battle, due to the Maxwell Harrison injury, is sort of wrapped up. I think Dorian Strong didn't put up a strong enough performance last week to really compete with Tre'Davious White, a guy who knows the system very well. So I think that one really is wrapped up. But I am very intrigued to see the wide receiver battle with guys like, again, KJ Hamler, Tyrell Shavers, Curtis Samuel, Elijah Moore.
Yeah, I really think that your 4, 5, 6 is being. I'm excited to see that, because I really do want to see who's going to be higher up. I think that Elijah Moore can work very, very well into this offense. That's why I even brought up that's why even Curtis Samuel is being brought up in trade talks at all, because you can save a lot of money on the cap just by trading him. But also, again, like you said earlier, you have to have that trading partner that's wanting to really take him on or anything like that, and take that take the money on as well. So who knows what's going to happen there, but I agree with you that the cornerback 2 battle is really set, unless for some reason or another, Dorian Strong has an amazing outing and, proves that he should have been more than a 6th round pick or anything like that. I can't wait to see Jordan Hancock play, because I really think that he needs to win the job over DeMar Hamlin. I think he's going to be a very good safety in the future, but they haven't figured out where he's going to be playing. But that's the thing. You put him at safety, and if you need him at nickel corner, you can have him slide in there as well. So real quick, Bean was on McAfee this week and named 8 receivers on the team. Samuel's name did not come up in that 8. I found that very telling. Sure. It could be because he's injured and he's trying to leave him off and send a message. Who knows? Who knows what it is about? And, I agree that, something like that could be just something as simple as, hey, you're an afterthought right now because you're injured and you're often injured. We signed you and you're not on the field. So these guys are the ones that are on the field. Let's get back on the field so I can start talking about you again. That type of thing.
Yeah.
So I get that. And I do agree with Steve that, it is something that is a little concerning, but we'll see how it goes. And if he gets traded, great. I'm 100% behind Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane on what they do. I've been very critical of a lot of coaches and a lot of GMs in the past, and rightfully so. They were in a 17-year playoff drought.
Yeah.
I was very critical of Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott their first year. They drafted Josh Allen. I was very, very high on Josh. I was probably one of the few that said that they should draft Josh Allen. Did I think that he would be there? No. I thought that Cleveland was going to take him instead of Baker Mayfield, but they did not. They took Baker Mayfield, and the rest is history. Josh Allen fell. Like I said, I've always said that Josh and Lamar would be the best 2 in that draft, and they clearly are. But with that being said, I trust them to do the right thing for this team and the right thing by this team. I think Brandon Beane is has become very Buffalo.
Yes.
Whether it's standing up for guys that don't want to be here, like an Antonio Brown stand at the podium and saying some of that stuff, or even some of the stuff recently that he said. So with that, what are some of your player predictions that you expect to see, not necessarily stat line wise, but
I expect to see Elijah Moore have a better, more of a presence in the offense, because there's a few plays last week where he was open, especially one where he was wide open. Maybe he takes it to the house, but Mitchell Trubisky missed him. I do expect to see Elijah Moore a little bit more, and maybe even a touchdown. And then on the defensive side, I expect Joe Andreessen to put on a performance, which seems like he's been doing every preseason game he has played in.
Yeah, it's crazy to me how much people were talking about him over the past couple of days from this Chicago Bears practice, and hopefully that battle is over. As far as I think that he's the middle. He's Terrell Bernard's backup, and I think Dorian Williams is Matt Milano's backup. So I think that they have 4 solid linebackers there, and I don't expect it to be any other way. I think Mike White is going to again show that he should be given that quarterback 2 spot. I think that they should save the almost $2.5 million from Mitchell Trubisky and let him go. Only ride with 2 quarterbacks on the roster, and then have Buechele be that third backup or third quarterback on the practice squad that they're able to use. I think that you're going to see Tyrell Shavers have a big game. I expect to see Elijah Moore have a bigger game or bigger role. Hopefully, because I really do think that if it was Mike White throwing the ball or Josh throwing the ball, that's a touchdown. I really do. I don't see. I feel like Mitchell Trubisky has turned into Trent Edwards. I really do. And
no, I do have a question about that though. But do you think QB2 is really a real camp battle, or is it really Josh's preference on who he wants in the room with him?
All I'm going to say is I get the FOJs. I really do. The friends of Josh. Right. I really do understand it. He wants to have somebody there, but also too, have you won a Super Bowl yet?
No.
Have you made a Super Bowl yet?
No.
Have you gotten over Kansas City?
No. But some of Josh Allen's best seasons
doesn't matter
with Mitchell Trubisky in the room.
How'd that season end? It ended in a loss, right?
And a heartbreaking NFC Championship game.
It ended in a loss, right?
Right.
So what are we doing here? I get that, but at the same time, maybe like if Josh were to get, and I don't want to throw this into the universe, but if Josh were to get hurt, knock on wood, that he doesn't, we need somebody that's reliable behind him that can come in and win a couple of games here and there. That's going to be able to run the offense like Josh does. That's going to be able to do that stuff. So I really think that I don't think that Mitchell Trubisky should be here anymore. And I don't think that it should matter what Josh says on that part of it. I really don't. Like if they were both going out and having the same bad games and same, and not missing guys that are wide open and both doing, whatever, sure, keep the guy Josh wants. But Mike White, I think, outplayed Mitchell Trubisky.
He did.
Yes, it was, third and fourth stringers or second and third stringers, however you want to look at it. But I think Mike White is the one that needs to stay. I don't think that it should be at all Mitchell Trubisky. I don't think he should be here much longer. But last and final thing, our game predictions. I know it's not like the Bills are going to win. Whatever you want to do. Like, who do you?
I have the Bills winning 31-27.
This is great. Steve, you're probably right in some way, shape, or form. Backup QB is going to come down to an 18-hole golf match at Attica Country Club. Yes. Yeah, maybe Easter Aurora Country Club or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah.
But go ahead, Pat, with your game predictions.
Yeah, I do see Buffalo winning this game 31-27. I think you'll see both off Ben Johnson putting some things on display. I think the Bears will score early. And if our starters play, we will score as well. And it seems like every preseason game has gone the over on their set projected. So I do expect this one going over as well.
Yeah, I don't. I expect it to be a lower scoring game. I expect it to be probably like a 24-13, 24-17, something like that. 21-17, something like that. That's lower scoring. I think the total, the over right now is 39.5. If I saw that correctly earlier, to say that's going to go over, I don't think it's going to. I really don't. Both defenses are really good. I think that they're going to be throwing not necessarily a lot of things at each other, but I think that they're going to have a lot of fun tomorrow night. For lack of better terms, but now we do something very, that every week on this every week on this show. Unfortunately, Student isn't here to do it, so Pat, you and I get to do it.
Yep.
Before we close out the show, who are you speaking to?
I'm speaking to Elijah Moore. He's a guy who was taken the second round out of Ole Miss, and he was not given the best hand to start. He was drafted by the Jets. His quarterbacks there were not the greatest. Then he played for Cleveland, a little bit of a better situation. But now you are here in Buffalo, a Super Bowl contending team with the league MVP, the greatest quarterback in the NFL currently. I stand on that. Make the most out of your opportunity and live up to that second round draft pick value.
Yeah, and I'm gonna speak to Trey White. Man, just continue being you. I hope that you stay healthy for the whole year. I'm glad you're back in Buffalo, and continue just being Trey White, man, and continue moving forward. I really, really want to see you, help this team get over that hump in the playoffs and potentially close out this season. Close out the stadium with a Super Bowl victory and raising a banner at the new Highmark Stadium. So, with that being said, Pat, I want to thank you for joining me tonight. I want to thank you for taking Student's spot. I want to thank everybody for the comments in the comments section. Real quickly, Steve Noble speaking to Shavers, play the best special teams game of your life and get your spot. I agree.
Amen.
I agree. So with that being said, Pat, I want to thank you so much for hopping on with me. I want to thank everybody in the comments. And with that being said, hey, go Bills.
Go Bills.
And join us next week. Third Manageable back here, 9:30 next Saturday. We have Coast to Coast on Wednesdays. We have the Buffalo Combat Zone on Mondays. And then Thursday nights, we have your show with you and Tommy, the Bills Canvas. Yes. We have Chasing Data on Friday, which gives you kind of like the data from all around the NFL, which is more data-driven show if you're into that, which I personally am. I love his show, so definitely check Chase out. And then Pat, you're doing some gaming all week on some Madden. Why don't you tell us what you got going on here real quick?
Yes, I am currently playing Madden 26 Ultimate Team. I'm building a no money spent team and taking that team online against other online opponents, obviously, and trying to win a Super Bowl. Which it's been a hard stretch last year, but this year we're doing better. We're off to a good start.
Yeah, no, I definitely noticed that. I think you went 0-5 the last time you played in Madden 25 or Madden 24 or whatever it was, and now Madden 26.
Now we're 4-1.
Now you're 4-1. So definitely want to thank everybody here. Definitely want to thank our sponsors, and go Bills.
Go Bills.
Good to be seen.
For the best Italian food in Western New York, Elliot Apollo's, call 716-825-3675. The Lardon Construction Group.
Fubo TV, the official streaming service of Do Champions. FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Do Champions.
For all your summertime needs, beauty pools, as well as kayak pools.
CX Chronicles, your total customer solutions focused manager. W.GG, the official energy drink of Do Champions.
Hey, Sons of Erie, our artwork looks better on your walls. Hamburg Brewing, please visit our tap room on Boston State Road, Hamburg, New York. And finally,
Fat Boy Surf Club for all your surfing needs.